We're back.
We're back. I see you.
I see you. Listen,
Happy, what is it? Tuesday.
Blur's Day.
Blur's Day. Happy Blur's Day.
I have no idea what it is, what day it is today, but good gosh, I am tired.
You're exhausted.
And here's the thing. I mean, I know today's conversation about work with your strengths.
Your strengths are exhausted. They're exhausted. They're tired. It's
Oh my
okay.
God. I am so tired.
Name it.
Run, huh?
Name it. Name
Tired.
it.
Well,
I'm tired.
I'm tired. I'm tired. So this is going to be a very interesting work with your strengths introduction. I'll get into the zone in just a little bit because like the energy of the conversation is going to get me energized, and I'll be
I'm
all
here.
right. And
I'm here.
and you're here. I know. Listen, it is March. You know what that means. It's Women's History Month. It's our month. It's our month. You have on your Women's History earrings, I see, Kelly.
Yeah, I got my little woman earrings on. I have my
Very-
t-shirt on.
Ooh, okay. If I can read backwards, girl,
Girl,
you
you have everything within you to make it happen.
it happen. Very nice. Very nice.
I'm celebrating.
That's right. You celebrating today. I'm in the kind of phase.
You're a tigress.
I'm a tigress. I don't want to say cougar because that means something totally different. Okay.
That's a whole nother webinar.
And so this past weekend, March 8th is International Women's Day. And so for all of the women, mothers, daughters, social justice warriors out there, those who are silently doing the work, those who are keeping the stories alive, our elders, our young girls who are going to blaze the way for the next generation behind them, we salute you and we honor the work that you are going to do, the work you have done, because we could not be here without the women whose shoulders we stand on.
And I want to add another category, and you kind of said it, and that is those are the women who are stepping up in this moment. Yes. And doing things like leading groups in their communities, running for office.
Right.
That I'm involved in a campaign, and I've been taking a deep dive looking at the research and the data about how communities, states, our country, the world is different when women lead.
Yeah.
The data is clear. It's clear when women lead. And so for all the women out there who are stepping up in this moment, I just salute you, and more power to you. And we need more women leading.
For sure. In fact, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is going through a course on how to support campaigns. Awesome. Not that she's going to be a campaign manager, but at least the ins and outs of helping to support the management around the campaign, like getting her toe dip in that. And what's interesting is she says she's one of the few women of color that are in this course, this class. I also spoke with someone else who is part of the Indivisible up in the Northeast, another woman, and then another woman who's working on a campaign in Michigan for a state senator.
Yeah.
So again, just thinking about what courage we have to step into the arena and go into serving our communities through the political process, and also know what comes with that, especially as a woman and a woman of color. Yeah. And so, I've been thinking about my role and what I can do. I have not had the desire to go into politics formally. And yet I feel like every step that I walk anyway is political.
100%.
And a sheer, my sheer existence.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was going to say. 100%.
Right. And so, is it time to formalize that? Is there some other ways to be involved. I know, you have done so much, not just in the current campaign work that you're doing, but even in presidential campaigns, right? We've knocked on doors, we've held forums, you've done the flyers and cards, just getting people even just to vote. And when I took a look at what happened in Texas, the number of people who came out for a primary, that's a great indication of what's going to happen when we get into these midterm elections. And we're seeing since last year the number of women who are being elected in positions. Your own state,
Yeah, I mean, we
you know,
we have the very first woman governor.
governor. I know that is just fantastic. We have not done that yet here in the state of Georgia, right? There is a crowded field right now of Democrats. There's a small field of Republican, I think mostly men, but on the Democratic side, we have a few women. And Stacey Abrams ran for governor here in Georgia twice, and the work that she continues to do to make sure that there's voter rights and pushing up against voter suppression. All that to say is, as you are working and thinking about the month of March, please don't forget the women of the civil rights movement, the women behind um, uh, our right to vote, Ron, the policies, because we vote in droves. We are the number one voters when it comes to elections, and yet there are very few women in positions of power. So it's time to change that landscape.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about strengths tonight, but I think this is apropos to that.
Yeah.
That we as women can, and this is not hyperbole, but we
Right.
as women can change the world with our collective strengths.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm with you. I've never wanted to run for a big campaign, but I love supporting great candidates. And the woman I am supporting, and this is the other thing that I think is important, she's 34 years old.
Yeah.
Running for Congress.
Mm.
She's a 4th generation cattle farmer. She just is I mean, every time I'm going to be with her for the next 3 days touring Southwest Virginia. And
Right.
well, I just listened to her strengths. I made her take Strength Finder.
Right.
Because I think it's important as she's stepping up to lead that she knows very clearly what she is bringing into every single room she's stepping into. Because that's when and we'll talk about this tonight, but that's when we don't ask for forgiveness for what we do or say, when we don't consider it a fluke, we own it because we're leading with our strengths. So I do think this is part of the strengths conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing, for those of you who are listening, watching, will watch the recording, this work around our strengths is not by accident, right? Both Kelly and I have history with CliftonStrengths specifically, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But in our Unwrapped framework in general, this is the 3rd session that we're going to be doing with this curated group of women who are interested in knowing about how they can leverage who they are and to live in their authenticity and to thrive in that, even when the conditions push up against that, right? There's these ideas of norms and ways of being. Some are cultural, some are the unwritten rules. Some of them are very Eurocentric in some cases and capitalistic in others. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you have to be something else in order for you to be accepted or to belong, then you're missing out on who you are, and people are missing out on who you are. So this session is the 3rd in a 6 series. And I want us to talk a little bit about how you even arrive to the work with your strengths. So we're going to go backwards just a little bit. And I'm going to, oh, look at that.
Ta-da.
Ta-da! Where did that come from? So yeah, we're going to talk about work with your strengths. But before we even get to that, just for those of you who are interested in still purchasing our book, one of the things that we talk about in the book, a quote is when we discover what makes us powerful, we stop shrinking and we start leading in ways that are bold, anchored, and unapologetic. Just think about that. When we discover what makes us powerful, we stop shrinking and we lead in ways that are bold, anchored, and unapologetic. I just want that to just sit for a moment because sometimes people say, well, what does it mean to be authentic? How can I be authentic? And it's the moment, it's a feeling where you have, for me, it's like this swell that, one, I'm proud of who I am in my skin. Second, I don't apologize for being who I am. And then when I see myself and I see how I am interacting with people and people respond, it gives me even more confirmation that I'm being who I am. And when they respond in ways that they're like, there's some energy and aura around you. I get that from you, Kelly, when I talk with you, and when you're in that space of nothing you say could make me believe any less than how I'm showing up, which is being proud and full of joy of who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Today, this morning, I was really thinking about the question, why strengths?
Mm-hmm.
And it's what you just said. It's, what does authenticity really mean? We throw that word around a lot. What does it really mean, and why strengths? And I wrote an LinkedIn article this morning to women, to think about, women leaders, to think about, what does it mean to really work with your strengths, to lean into your strengths? And I want to just reference a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't name what you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't, it's not what happens when women are socialized to be, it's what happens when women are socialized to be, and these were the first two sessions, right? So we looked at our story, we looked at how we were socialized. And when we're socialized to be humble, to stay small, to not let their work speak for itself, or to speak for our work,
mm-hmm.
and when we don't know why we do these magnificent things, why we are successful, why we are the brilliance in the room, why we saw something that somebody else didn't see, why we were able to extend a caring and empathetic ear to a colleague, why we take that for granted, rather than knowing, when I walk into the room, this is what I bring,
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically. And when we don't understand that, then a couple things happen. One, we either over apologize,
Right.
Yeah, or we just kind of fluff it off. Or we allow someone else to take the credit instead of saying, oh, no, that was my strategic thinking that got us to where we are today. That's my maximizer that figured out we were doing okay, but we could have done better.
Right.
And then the last one I thought about today was the fluke trap, which is, that big thing just happened because I was in the right place.
Right. It was just
the stars aligned.
Yeah. Right.
All that. And that leads us into, and you and I don't really like this word, but I'm going to use it, that whole idea of imposter syndrome.
Right.
And I think that one of the answers to imposter syndrome is to know specifically who you are, and to know how you specifically think, feel, and behave. And when you know that, your imposter is gone.
That's right.
She's gone.
Yeah. Well, and I think that leads to kind of where we were before with naming the thing.
Yes.
So last month, which was maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We had our second session. It was name the thing. And so after we've thought about how we were conditioned through understanding our story and really got to the origin, we saw the patterns, the over time, from the time that we were born to how we're showing up now. What are some patterns that in some cases served us, but it's also drained us? And here are a few of them that were named in that session. I think we had about 15. So I picked, these 6. One is the superwoman. I mean, many of us already know that women's and women of color wear this cape that on the outside looks great, but there's this whole conversation in the superhero world about whether or not capes actually are a good thing.
Yeah.
Because they can choke you.
Mm.
They can get caught. They can be weighty, right? They can get in the way. So while we're out there trying to, save the world, we're doing it at the risk of saving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so Superwoman was one that came up. The other one was the fixer, right? So almost like Superwoman, but in this case, you're like, okay, you have a problem. I'm going to go and fix it. Not save, but I'm going to go and fix the issue. You're in constant construction worker mode. A third one was the settler. I thought that was interesting. Like, you know what? I'm just going to settle. Not going to.
This is good enough.
Anymore. Yeah, this is good enough. No fighting anymore. Maybe I don't even deserve anything more than what it is. Nothing ever else is going to happen. So I'm just going to settle for what I settle. I mean, I think that is just, that is really a unique way of seeing when someone is close to like throwing in the towel. The towel's not necessarily in, but they might be waving that flag a little bit.
Yep.
The other was the comedian. I thought that was interesting. Sister just explaining that in these moments of tension, break the tension with laughter. Be the one that's funny.
Yep.
Take the attention off me or take the attention off the situation and not address it. Let me crack a joke.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the clown's mask.
Yes, the clown's mask. Yes. The other is the call out. The person who's just like, I'm going to call it out versus calling in. And call outs are necessary, but you also want to leave somebody with their dignity intact, especially if you know that person is truly making a mistake. There's one thing about being callous and cold when calling out someone who's callous and cold with really harmful intentions. But what about calling someone in, as Loretta Ross says, and really trying to help people understand? So if you're in a constant call out mode, you're in constant finger pointing, that's exhausting as well. You're always in fight.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is always in that space. And then the other one is, I'm the rock. I'm going to keep it together. Never going to let them see me sweat. Hold it together, hold it together, hold it together by any means necessary. Don't cry. Don't show certain emotions. Just stay steady. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of these in certain moments, but if that becomes your definition of how your default with how you move, then it is pulling and draining who you can become. And one of the things you talked about, Kelly, in Name the Thing, is this is all about becoming.
Yeah.
This is that transition from, so let me think more about my 54 years on this planet. How have I shown up? And for me, as you said, hustler, and how this have served me and how has that drained me? And I can point where the serving also was draining.
Yeah. And one of the things we've talked about is it's not about fixing this. It's about how do I integrate my superwoman, my comedian, my call out? How do I integrate that in a way that it's healthy for me, that serves me, and that is reflective of my strengths? Because like you said, sometimes it is necessary to call someone out if they're being harmful.
That's right.
Sometimes it's necessary to be the rock when everybody else is falling apart and you're saying, okay, get up, we can continue to do this. Sometimes it's necessary to be the superwoman, but not all the time.
Correct.
And you have to ask yourself, am I these things because I'm masking something else?
That's the thing. So I think that is what we share openly. We use ourselves in all of these workshops as examples. One, to help model what vulnerability looks like, and second, to for us, we're still becoming, right? We're still unwrapping. We are not unwrapped yet, right? We are in the gerund stage,
Yes.
right? And so for me, the hustler was the name, right? It's a mixture of the rock, the superwoman, the fixer. Like I was all of those days. I guess I could be the chameleon as well, but
Yeah.
the hustler. And when I look over time, how much I hustled to the point where my body said, sorry, stop,
Done.
done. That happens with the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
happens with the superwoman and fixers. The settlers could finally throw in the towel, and the comedian can go from everything is joyous to quick depression quickly, right? So as a hustler, while I kept going, for someone's worth, for someone to say to me and validate my worth, not for someone's worth, but to validate my worth. What about your peacekeeper?
Yeah. So my peacekeeper was my way of keeping the waters calm when sometimes the waters needed to be really rough.
Yeah.
And sometimes they needed to be rough so that we could navigate through them to get to the other side. And that's where the growth happens. So,
Right.
so one of the things I realized I was doing being the peacekeeper is I was impeding some growth for some people because I wasn't calling anything out.
Yeah.
Um, I I used it also to mask some emotions I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to grieve. And grieving is oftentimes we say we're mad when we're actually grieving, or we say we're
Mhm.
angry when we're actually grieving. And when you have to disrupt peace, especially in a moment where you have to call someone in or call someone out, or you have to say some things that make other people uncomfortable, something might die off.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go through that process. And what
Mm.
I know now is you mentioned the word becoming. You know, there's nothing as great as being on, and I'm quoting an author and her name will come to me, but I'm at the point in my age where sometimes I don't remember when I walk in a room. So, I can remember the quote, but I can't remember the author. You don't get both. Sue Monk Kidd, it just came to me.
Okay.
But there is nothing as energizing as being on the edge of becoming.
Mm.
And so I impeded that becoming by being the peacekeeper. And the peacekeeper for me also meant, oh, put Kelly on the committee. She'll keep everything stable. Oh, Kelly will do it because she'll make sure that everything gets done and it's done in a way that's really it as a very young girl, I made sure the holidays that my mom didn't plan, I made sure I planned. Holidays or celebrations that should have been in my dad's responsibility, I did because I made sure that things were.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I didn't help him to learn. Look, when it's mom's birthday, you got to do something. When it's Christmas, you got to, because he knew I would do it. So,
Right.
so that seems small, but then those things got bigger and then it came to kind of a crescendo when I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't say something for myself, and it impacted my health, and it impacted my mental health, and I ended up leaving a job that I loved because I couldn't stay there any longer.
Right. Yeah. And again, these are just our examples of how they show up for us, and how, while on the outside looking in, you can say, well, what's wrong with being a hustler and a peacekeeper? When we started to unpack that from our origin stories, we started to see that those particular names, those ways of being, were actually stopping us from being who we fully are. For me to stop hustling meant for me to actually be quiet and to actually sit and listen to how I'm actually feeling. And when you're hustling, you don't have to do that.
Yep.
You just keep it moving. Busy, and you don't have to worry about anything because you're not even allowing yourself to feel.
Yep.
So what does that mean for where we're going, right? Again, from our book, unwrapping begins when we stop asking what's wrong with us and we start asking what shaped us. And this is where we're getting to our strengths. And so, Kelly, you spent a large portion of your career working at the Gallup organization. And I want you to just tell folks like what drew you to the research around Gallup's work, specifically around CliftonStrengths?
Yeah. So I was actually at a school district in Virginia. I was with Fairfax County Public Schools, and we started to work with the Gallup organization in looking at how do we do a better job hiring teachers and principals, and everybody looks at the same things. You look at resumes, you look at experience, you look at those things, but we really wanted to look at, is there something we can ask? Is there something we can look at that will help set some apart from others? Is there something predictive? So we started working with the Gallup organization around very specific talents and strengths around teacher and principal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I found that fascinating. And at this point in time, I was actually on leave, maternity leave. And the assistant superintendent called and said, we're gonna be working with this organization. Would you want to come back and help us? And I said, well, sure. I didn't know what he was talking about. I just went, yeah, sure, okay, I'll come back. So I came back in, and it's almost from the very first meeting, I just found the research, the data fascinating, because it flipped on its head what we often do in schools, which is we look at kids, we look at our students, we look at our young scholars, and we say, what's been left out that we need to put in?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than saying, what's already strong about you that we can manifest, that we can pull out of you, and then maybe help you manage the rest.
Right.
So I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. I mean, I've always thought more from a deficit mindset around, you need to be well-rounded. You need to be, and when in reality, none of us will ever be well-rounded. There are some things you do, and it's why we have such a great partner, why we are a power of two, because you do some things much better than I do. I do some things better than you do. And when we bring those two things together, then you make impact and you make a difference and you can succeed and you achieve goals. And so it was just a different way. And so I got super excited about that and understanding that. Soon after that, I left Fairfax and recruited by the Gallup organization, and I was there for almost 17 years. And I worked with school districts across the country to just ask some questions that they weren't asking and to figure out how might we treat people differently, select people differently, develop people differently, create different kinds of cultures based on strengths and well-being. And from then on, when my kids got old enough, I had them take Strength Finder. Actually, I'll tell a quick story. When my girls were in high school, and remember when it was time to for the counselors to write letters for college, right? We would get like a 5-page packet, 6-page packet, and I had to fill it all in about the girls and here's the reason why. It's because my girls were never in academic trouble. They were never in disciplinary trouble. So the counselors really didn't know who they were. So I had to tell them who they were and that is, let me just say, that's not an indictment on counselors. That's more of an indictment on how we set counselors up in that role. And so, and our expectations of them. And so when in writing that, I got about halfway through and I said, no. So I had them take Strength Finder. I stapled that to the packet and I said, this is who she is. Write the letter of recommendation based on this, because these are her strengths. And so it just became part of our family, kind of culture within our family. And it just made so much sense. So, I tend to be, between the two of us, I tend to be the one that asks why. And so I go
Mm,
into the data to find out why. So as I went into the data, I also realized that when you have a manager or someone that develops you by your strengths, you are more likely to stay at that organization. You are more likely to make impact, to achieve goals, to find other partners that complement you. So then the work is much more powerful. So it's not just a feel good piece,
right.
And we've all done all kinds of assessments where we get these reports and we say, "Oh, isn't that nice? I'm a XYZ,"
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
It's much deeper than that. It's also about it's about who I am au authentically, how I naturally think, feel, and behave, but also how I can apply it, and
Yeah.
then how that makes a difference. So, I was drawn to that work because I also think it tapped into the teacher in me around helping people understand. I may not have been teaching reading, but I
Mhm.
was teaching people who they were authentically.
Yeah, for me, the idea of developing people through their strengths was extremely intriguing because for a long time I was so interested in human behavior.
Mhm,
One of my favorite classes, even though I didn't do too well in that class, but was psychology, and
mhm,
I loved anthropology. And
mm,
when I was a high school student, I was always fascinated by what people said, how they moved, what made them tick. I sort of studied, really good people at good stuff. And I was competitive in terms of like, if they are that good, how can I be that good? Not that I wanted to beat them, but I was like, what do I need to shore up, do better to like be good at what I want to do? And so it always fascinated me to see people and their talents in music, in sports, um, in poetry, in architecture. It's like, how do they see those things in a way that they see them? And so that's what led me to really dive into being a storyteller, which
mhm,
is why I went to schools for film and television. I was like, I'm really interested in the anecdote, the story behind what I'm seeing. Like I want to see or hear the voice of the person in it. So when I became a teacher, when I became a leader, again, I absolutely love the thing I do really well is observation and feedback. I mean, in the
mm,
school, actually today I spent time just talking about the components of observation. And that's like my jam, that and coaching.
mhm.
Because in doing so, I'm watching people do their thing,
Observing.
observing people do their thing. And so when you came to the school district and shared some of the tools and I was introduced to CliftonStrengths, I was like, this resonates with me so much because now I have some research behind it. And I have some words and language to describe some of the things that I see in people. So one of the things that comes up for us is our strengths, the way we think, feel, and behave. And for those of you who are CliftonStrengths users, or you really have are using it in ways to develop people or using it for yourself, I think it's language that we can sort of get behind, right? It's not convoluted. I'm not a letter. I'm not necessarily a color. Like I'm a word, right? So even when people do colors and things, like I'm a green and I'm a gold, I'm like, what? Where's the cheat sheet? I can't remember what those things mean,
Exactly.
right? But if I say I am an activator, or I'm strategic, or I'm a relator, people can kind of get behind some definition of what that is. It's easier to explain. So uh, Clifton Strengths is an assessment of your talent. And there are 34 strengths. And when you take the assessment, you can get your top 5 or you can get your full 34. You get your top 5 because those are the ones that are most dominant in terms of your default, the way you sort of move or move through life, right? In those top 5. And what's intriguing about them is that they show up everywhere, right? They're just not, it's not an assessment just for like your work life, and then it's separate from your personal life, and then it's separate from this other portion of your life. Like they show up in every facet of your life. And so here are mine and Kelly's. And as Kelly was describing a few moments ago about how we are a power of 2, I think that goes to sort of this adage when people say opposites attract, right? This
Yep.
complementary pieces.
Yep.
When you think about our spouses, our loved ones, our partners, even our own children, or our relationships with our parents, we're not the same. And yet we can complement each other if we knew what that is. So
Yep.
they're my top 5. I have achiever, learner, belief, responsibility, and relator. And let me just give a quick anecdote around achiever because it's my number 1, and it's the one that people are like, yeah, I can see that. Remember what my word was when I named the thing: hustler. Okay. Achiever in this space versus my hustling acts very different. Because when I hear achiever, I'm hearing it from the vantage point of a talent, of a strength. My hustler has 2 sides. Now, of course, anything, too much of anything is not good. There's balcony and basements we have of the strengths as well. But my achiever, because I know how that has um, helped me to be successful, I know that that is the thing that energizes me. I leverage that to combat this other side of hustling that actually pulls me down. So it gives me energy versus exhausts me at the end. And my responsibility, sometimes that can turn into guilt, but it's the thing that I take sort of care and emotional accountability around the things that I do. You can depend on me with responsibility. I'll get it done. Those 2 are very complementary. I'll get her done, and I'll get her done when I said, because I said I'm going to get it done. You can count on me to do so. So Kelly, share, 1 or 2 of yours, because we share 2 the same.
Yeah, we share learner and a relator
Wow.
together, and that is not realtor, because a lot of people say realtor.
What? Okay, that's just how that's how our brains are reading it. With realtor, I've heard that too.
Yes, and realtor just means that we have a few very close friends in our lives, but we go deep.
Yes.
Those people. I like to say I do life with them. They're not
Mhm.
just friends. We do life together.
Yeah.
They know my kids. I know their kids. I'll call them up and say, you know what he did on you. Or I'm worried about her, or, hey, what do you think about? So we do life together. So
Yeah.
my maximizer is a good to great kind of strength.
Uh-huh.
It's where, and this is one that can have a basement, because it's one where sometimes you're never satisfied.
Oh yeah.
It's always pushing up around. How can we do better? How can we do better? How can we do better? And so sometimes I need people in my life to say, we've done enough here. Let's focus over here. Now
Yeah.
we've gone as far as we can with that.
That would be me.
Correct. Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
like, wait.
You need to pull out your achiever checklist and go, your maximizer is keeping us from doing the next thing. Okay, let's move on. My individualization is I can let me describe it as a teacher. I never saw a classroom of 30 kids. I saw 30 individual kids with unique needs, with what I was going to give them might be different. So when I meet someone, I'm not going to assess their needs. I'm not going to judge them, not in a bad way. In a universal way, I'm going to wait to know them, and then they're going to fit in either to my life or I'm going to give them what they need individually. I have 2 girls. I have a 29-year-old and a 31-year-old, and they couldn't be closer, but they couldn't be so very, very different. And
Mhm.
so I actually, as their mother, I do not treat them the same because they don't have the same needs.
Yeah.
Connectedness is I need to know how the dots are working. So if we're doing this over here, why are we doing this? And how does that connect over here? And oh, that makes sense over here. I think it's one of the reasons why actually, Kendra, I was thinking about this today when I was writing the strength thing is I think it's one of the reasons why I got so excited when we sat down at the end of last year and said, let's look at everything we've been doing and let's put it into a framework. As I went, the dots are connected.
Yes.
This all makes so much sense to me.
Mhm.
So those are some of mine.
Yeah. And one of the things that we are so excited about is we talk about these strengths, but now we're talking about them as women and as women leaders. What does this look like when you layer on gender and ethnic identity or nationality with these strengths? And how sometimes we can bury the strengths to be palpable to societal norms.
Yep.
So your maximizer of like, wait, what else can we do to do better? It's like, can't you just settle, Kelly? Can't you just be
Push it?
Can't you just be happy with what you have?
No.
Or achiever. Good gosh, my grandmother would say I'm fast and fancy, but she'd be like, Kendra, you're so daggone fast and fancy. I was achiever as a little kid. I know what fast and fancy meant. I was ready to go, right? But as a Black woman in spaces around leadership, she is getting too big for her britches. She just needs to sit on down right over there, right? So those things show up. So this is what we're going to talk through when we go through work with your strengths, right? So here's the thing. We need to understand our strengths and how to use them. And we need to know, truly know, that no matter what happens, we are enough.
Period. End of sentence.
But we don't even know that we have the strengths.
Yep.
Let's start there, right? So we've named a thing. We understand our story. We named a thing. Now we're going to look at our assets. What makes us the fabulous people that we are? Because that fabulousness allows us to say that last sentence. We are enough.
What's our superpower?
What's our superpower? So we want you to join us.
Yes.
On Saturday, March 28th. There's a theme here. We were like January 31st, February 28th, March 28th. So it's at the end of the month on a Saturday from 9 to 12. Now, for tonight's broadcast, for tonight's book talk, we are offering this for $179. Here is what's neat. This is inclusive of taking the CliftonStrengths assessment. So it's wrapped in there. So you'll take the assessment and then you'll join the group of women on this date, and we'll begin to unpack what it means to leverage these strengths in a way to help you take control of those and push aside your thing, your hustler, your superwoman, your settler, your fixer, your rock, because they're components of those within the strength. The component of hustler is sitting in my achiever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And you don't have to English. You don't have to have taken the first 2 workshops to take this one. So because we'll we move forward, we back up. We move forward, we back up. So we'll do a little bit of review for even if you weren't able to attend the first 2. If you've attended the first 2, this is your next step.
Right.
And we'll roll right into work with your strengths. But if you didn't, you won't miss a beat. Coming in and taking the strength finder, bring your report with you.
Yep.
So you have it in front of you. It's virtual. We don't care what you look like.
Right.
Roll out of bed, come in your comfy clothes, have your coffee or whatever, a beverage of your choice. eat your breakfast online. We don't care. We are there to just be in community with each other and discover what is really strong about you.
And this is, let me just comment. This is one of my favorites because
Mhm.
we've been doing CliftonStrengths work with districts and individuals with coaching and all of those things because it absolutely reshapes the way we think about ourselves.
Yep.
But it's almost like for the first time, you are going to be seeing yourself. It's a
Oh,
window
that's why I
into,
do that. Oh, that's why.
yes, it's a window into your leadership, your woman soul.
Yep.
And we don't spend enough time like checking in with ourselves. We do it occasionally, right? But this is like really getting to know who you are outside of those patterns
Yeah.
and taking control of those. So
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to you all joining us.
Yeah. Give yourself the gift. It's a
That,
gift.
that's right. So we're going to put this QR code. Let me make sure I have this right. We're going to put this QR code up. Know your strengths. There's that one there. Because we want to make sure too that you don't miss out on this opportunity. So you'll hear from us. You'll see some posts, some links in the next couple of weeks. Over time, we will reach out to some of you personally, some friends,
Not you.
some family members. Yeah, you listening and watching right now. We're going to reach out to you because one, we just believe that this stuff is so good. This experience, this community, and the feedback we're getting from the women in the community is even. I think it's more than what I thought it would be. And to
Yeah,
just
I met with someone for lunch the other day, and she said, "You are on to something." Is what when she looked at our curriculum and she looked at the framework, she said, "You're on to something." Wanted to say one more thing.
Mhm.
I would like to challenge the women who are saying, "Yes, I'm coming," to bring someone with them.
Yes.
Because the part of the fun is what you just saw Kendra and I go back and forth with our strengths. Have your partner, bring your power of two, bring your complementary partner so that after the session, you can continue to talk about your strengths. When you see each other, you can say, "Hey, how your strengths doing?" You can have
Right.
those kinds of conversations. So bring, whether it's a colleague from work or whether it's a best friend or whoever it is.
Or your mother.
I
So
mean, I was just thinking, your mother's in this
my
cohort.
mother, some of you know her affectionately as Mama Kay, but my mother is participating in the Unwrap Framework series with me. It
Love
is so unique to watch or to talk with her like afterwards. I don't go into the breakout rooms with my mama, but you know, the things that she shares with me about what she's experienced after we've had the workshop, it really, I think, is changing our relationship, especially in our age that we are now. So uh it also helps me to understand more about her that I didn't know, right? So I get a bigger peek into her window. And she's getting a peek of mine. In fact, she was like, "Kendra, I'm so sorry. I know you're a hustler. It's because of me." Right? It's like, yeah,
I
yes,
know.
mom. Yeah, mom, and thank you. Yeah, you taught me everything that I know. Right. And I understand why she had to do what she did. And so for me to watch that and go, well, that's the imprint, then I must do that. And then I shape it in my own context. And then I think about, well, I don't have daughters, I have sons. It was like, they must be looking at me like I am cray cray, right? Or they're like, that's, am I supposed to be like that?
Yeah.
So again, I think we also wind up teaching people how to treat us and how they should show up for us.
Yes.
And as we are unwrapping, Kelly, I think our relationships with our respective friends and family members have changed dramatically as
100%.
a result of the true us. I don't want to say the new us, but the true us that is showing up every day in the space. And people are recognizing it. They're recognizing it in the way that we speak, how we look, how we move. I sure look and speak and move differently than I did 5 years ago, and so do you.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'll say it this way. The culmination of all my life experiences have led me to this moment.
Yep. I see that. And so when you look back on it, you're like, that's why your connectedness just showed up.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. So let me just put back on the screen one more time as we close out. Please join us on Saturday, March 28th. Register now so you can get the link to take your Clifton Strengths assessment. If you already took the Clifton Strengths assessment, then we're going to send you the link and you will just share it with us, because we're going to create a team grid so that everyone in the session can see what it looks like in terms of the women who are participating. And please bring another sister with you. The power of two, the opportunity for you to have a conversation after the session and during the session. And there's ways you can hold each other accountable or able. So I really appreciate y'all coming on this journey with us. This is an exciting 2026 for women. I know the world is going to heck in a handbasket and feel like it. And yet it also is a tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell said. This 100%. Is a point which we could actually live into our power.
Agree.
And so I'm looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone, for those of you who are tuning in.
March 28th.
March 28th. Now, if you're not there, you know I'm going to hunt you down and find you. That's my.
You know who she's talking to.
Right. That's the way I do sales, which is not appropriate, I guess, but I don't know any better. That's not my strength.
I do it a little differently.
That's not my strength. That my achiever is like,
yes.
I mean, get in there. Let's get these.
Done.
Let's go. So have a great night, everyone. And
bye, everyone.
See you at the end of the month.